After much debate, we gave humans a last chance. Evolution resumed, but toward an awful chaos. Think about it. You humans are insane. This is Rebooty and the Beast, a podcast in 2 parts. I'm Matt Molinaro.
And I'm N. Burke. In the first episode, we review an original piece of media, and in the second, we discuss the reboot. Although, wicka wow, this is that was my attempt at record scratching, and I don't know how it went down, but
Incredible.
Thank you. We, as I said last week, put our thing down, flipped it, and reversed it because this time we did the reboot first, and then now we're doing the original.
Yes, which we flipped the script. We topsy-turvied. I think it was a good choice, honestly, now that we have seen both, because as if you've heard last week's episode, you know this movie, at least in the reboot, has, you guessing one way or the other the whole time.
Yes.
And so us knowing how that one resulted kind of, I feel like, made this one probably more exciting to watch, because I kept wondering, I didn't know how much they had changed, And so I kept wondering, are they going to actually keep the same ending, or was that actually a work of the reboot?
Yeah. I was wondering the same thing.
So it was cool. Obviously, neither of us had seen this. Oh, we're doing Save the Green Planet this week, which is stylized with an exclamation point when it's in English, but it's a Korean film from 2003, if we haven't mentioned it yet.
Yes, correct.
So this is the original to Bugonia, which we did last week, which obviously, if you've listened to, we were big fans of, both of us. So,
yeah.
High hopes.
High hopes, just like Panic at the Disco.
And also stylized with an exclamation point.
Yeah, for sure. I was also kind of curious because it, preceded Bugonia by 23 years, which I was not expecting it to be that far apart. For some reason in my head, I was like, oh, it'll probably have been just like, 3 or 4 years before, and we're just like redoing it to bring the kind of concept to American audiences or whatever. But there was a pretty decent gap between these two.
Yeah. The weird thing, though, about what you're saying is you keep saying it was 23 years ago, and I'm sorry. I graduated in 2003 from high school, so that was like not... You can't be right about that. 23,
yeah,
that can't be right. That was like 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, you're definitely... Also, oh my God, speaking of almost that exact span of time, I was on Instagram this morning before we started recording, and it has been 25 years since Kelly Osbourne released her cover of Papa Don't Preach.
Wow. What an iconic moment in history we are in. Do you...
True.
What?
I said true.
True. Do you remember her iconic, really soulful, I believe some might call it a ballad, Shut Up?
I'm not as familiar with it as I was Papa Don't Preach, but I will say she released a second album probably like 5 or 6 years later, and there is at least one good song on that. I want to say it's called like One Heart or something like that.
Okay. Well, I do remember my favorite lyrics to Shut Up were blah, 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 blah. So there was that. And I do remember when she was in her music era, she did some sort of performance where she ran up or down 100,000 steps.
Oh, she ran down the steps as she was like screaming like, "Let's go MTV." And it was very, very cringe.
Manic. So speaking of Kelly Osbourne, Save the Green Planet.
Yes, correct. So
do you want the summary from IMDb?
Oh, yes, please.
We do have one. And I'm going to do my best to pronounce the names in the movie.
Same, yeah. I tried to pay attention during the movie, and then I also did like a little like YouTube pronunciation thing as much as I could. But
oh my gosh, Sam, I did the YouTube pronunciation thing for the actors' names.
Okay.
And I tried to remember from the movie. So, forgive me for... I am making an effort. But I acknowledge I will get it wrong, I'm sure. So, and I mentioned that because the summary, we start with one of the names. So he's referred to as Lee throughout the movie. Well, I guess it depends because all the names here are their like last names, their surnames, because I think that's how it would probably be, but in my American mind, his name is Lee. So it says Byung-gu, which is his last name.
That's actually his first name.
Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, because it's listed as Lee Byung-gu, but I guess that's, I have no idea how the...
Yeah, so in Korean, they list surname first and then first name.
Okay. Which, I heard a poem actually once that talked about that, and it was like talking about how they value heritage versus like the individuality. I don't know. It was kind of a beautiful thing. Anyway, so Byung-gu believes that the world is on the verge of an alien invasion and sets out to save the world.
There you go.
Pretty plain and simple. Did you have any expectations going into this, by the way, right before we get started? Did you, obviously we'd not seen it. I didn't see a trailer or anything. So I was just kind of open and, seeing what happens. Did you have any expectations?
Not really. I think my knowledge and exposure to like Korean movies is relatively limited. Mm-hmm. I think the only other one I can think of off the top of my head that I've seen is Parasite. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of wondered if it would have like sort of a Parasite vibe into it. Like as far as like I was trying to imagine what Bugonia could have been inspired by. And so I was like, maybe it has that sort of like same, like really intense vibe to it that Parasite did. Mm-hmm. And I would say that it did not for the most part. And so it's definitely very tonally distinct from Parasite. But I didn't really have any other expectations going in.
Yeah. Same. And since this was a movie with subtitles, I was paying very much attention to the screen. So we were talking a little bit beforehand. Our notes are probably similar in that way that we were splitting our time. And I didn't really want to pause a million times and just split up the tempo of the film.
Yeah.
So away we go.
Here we go. Yeah, it opens with a monologue of Byung-gu saying like, you may think I'm crazy, or you probably think I'm crazy. Like, eventually nobody believes you, whatever. But he kind of immediately is talking about how this CEO, his first name is Manshik, I believe.
Yes.
His last name is Kang. He is, quote unquote, the leader, the one with the royal genetic DNA code. And he's kind of doing this slideshow of Manshik as he is like, doing his CEO thing, which includes for some reason naked golfing, which I was like, is that a thing?
Yeah, it was interesting. He's going through, I like the way they did this. This was kind of a cool take on it. They're like, because in the first one we see, them living their lives separately. Mm-hmm. In this one, they focused much more on his life and much less on like how the conspiracy theorists lived, quote unquote, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like the build up, which was different. And they're going through the opening thing of like how he's living with his materialistic wife and spoiled kids, quote unquote, but has that royal DNA code. And we're getting like the idea of like his like life. And then it seemed like when they did those photos that you're talking about, they were talking about like him having a double life, like some sort of secret on the side. And yeah, it was naked golf and like a sauna.
Yeah, I was like, number one, they're all inside. Number two, why are they naked? Number three, why are they golfing?
Why? More than anything else was the existence of the golf club.
Yes, I found that very strange as well.
And at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, is this like a weird, not to kink shame, but is this like a weird sex thing? Like, golf? But
some people get off on naked golfing. More power to them.
The photos all show actual golf swings, so it's just good old naked golf. Men need to be comfortable bonding.
Yes, true.
But yeah, we get the whole same thing, alien from Andromeda, and he's talking to somebody about how they must save the planet, and no one else knows but them.
Yeah, and basically that Menshik has been contacting aliens more and more, and the next lunar eclipse, the alien prince will come from Andromeda, and no one will survive if they don't stop them, basically.
Yes, and them, we find out, instead of it being, in the reboot, him and his cousin, it's his girlfriend.
Yes, Suni. Yeah, and she seems a little, like, simple and, like, kind of naive and like just willing to like follow him whatever he says kind of thing. Like she doesn't seem quite bought into the conspiracy as much, but she's like fully invested in him at least. Which that's kind of the way the cousin was too. It was like he was like, okay, yeah, whatever you say.
Yeah, she's sort of like a moral compass here too. Not as clear as with Dawn, but I feel like she's sort of like question things a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but is so enamored with him. It's almost more, in this circumstance, feels like cult leadery.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, like the way, like the main, how a cult leader would probably start with, you know, his first people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, still the same sort of lifestyle. They're conspiracy theorists in this. They literally live in a basement, and the whole like tinfoil hat they're taking quite literally. They're giving them helmets that almost look like upside down colanders with, you know, moving pieces on them.
Okay, so I have to say two things. Miles didn't watch it with me, but he loves Bugonia too, and he was kind of like, "What were the differences?" And I said where like Bugonia feels much more like conspiracy theory rabbit hole QAnon type vibes as far as conspiracy. This one feels much more tinfoil hat.
Yes, very much that. Very much like bunker in the basement. Tinfoil hat. Lines on the other one felt like there was a movement behind him.
Yeah, true.
This one is very singular.
Idiosyncratic to him.
Exactly. Yes. It doesn't feel like it's part of anything. And we don't get the whole, like, there are bees in this, but we don't get the whole, like, nature relevance thing in this one.
We don't. But I will say I absolutely loved their helmets because they had,
same.
like, the flashing lights on them and then these, like, antenna that kind of moved in a weird way. I really enjoyed that.
Oh, absolutely. They were, like, little helmets that you would picture in, like, the Wall-E world. Like, little spinny, like Gadget would wear it on,
Or like
Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers.
or like Wile E. Coyote would wear when trying to catch the Roadrunner.
Yes. You know, I love a special magical like tool or instrument in things.
Mm-hmm.
This is right up my alley. So I did like that. And then they do the opening at this point, I feel like. No, well, not the opening yet. They start we'll talk about the opening in a second. They start the opening and it just says like 7 days before the lunar eclipse at this part. They're like setting the tone.
Yes.
And then we get the man that they've been talking about, the Andromedan, Manchik, and he's walking through like what looks at first like a parking structure, but I think it's a parking structure just to his house.
I think that's true. And he is making really weird noises and stuff. And part of, like, I will say one of the things that obviously this was a movie that was in Korean. And I think that we probably miss a lot of the, like, if presuming it's there, like, remember how we talked so much about how, like, the word choice was so important in Bugonia for making it feel unsettling and all of that. Obviously, we lose that because neither of us speaks Korean. But he's like making kind of weird noises and stuff. And I'm like, is he supposed to be playing drunk? Or is he supposed to be like, are we meant to immediately question if this is like the Andromedan language? That I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, I think they were leaning on the drunkenness, but I agree with you. I think there's an element that we're missing there. And I think if you think based on what we see in the movie a little bit, you know, that sort of that style of like martial arts that you see in movies, that's like the drunken fighter. I think that like the mannerisms you see in movies like that, probably they're like leaning into here too a little bit.
Yeah,
because there's still a little bit of like a larger like out of what's the word, not whimsical, surreal moments of the film too.
Yeah, I would say this movie, I feel like like lends itself to the absurd.
Right. That's a good way to say it.
And Begonia does too, but I feel like Bugonia was like absurd in an artsy way, and this is more absurd in like a almost slapstick comedy way.
Yeah, way more. I feel like Bugonia was like more subtle, and this is like very stylized.
Yeah,
in that way. And then because we have him in this, like you said, he's making these weird noises, sort of stumbling around, where you're sort of questioning. I mean, it does the job. I was questioning, okay, are they doing the really drunk, unruly guy thing, or alien-esque behavior, strange behavior? He shortchanges the driver because he's super cheap.
Yeah.
So we see he's like doesn't care about people. He's like, you know, doesn't regard money. He says like, why does his mom's birthday have to come every year? Blah 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 blah. And then as he's like stumbling into his house, which he clearly is massive if he has a parking structure that leads to it. From in a much less sneaky way. What's his name? Byung-gu comes from behind in like a garbage bag outfit
Yes.
and the helmet
Yes.
to attack him, to
Correct. Kidnap
disable
him.
him.
And yeah, he sprays him with whatever spray and calls him a dirty alien, and they fight. And it appears he's going to lose the fight, but Suni manages to kind of like come around the corner and tackle the CEO and knock him unconscious. So
Yeah.
they managed to kidnap him, kind of like in the first movie.
Yeah, and he tells him, "I'm bringing you back to your hometown of Andromeda." And as he's like fighting in the fight with him, like it was sort of in Begonia with Emma Stone, but much shorter, the Byung-gu drops like a bunch of pills on the ground.
Yeah, at first I was like, is he literally spilling like a jar of marbles? But then like as sort of like a losing your marbles kind of thing. But then I was like, oh no, it's pills, which, we kind of get a similar like opioid addiction storyline that appears in Begonia that appears to also be at play here.
Yeah, I think they like the imagery of the needles we see in Begonia is like replaced for pills in this one.
Yeah.
But at first I was like, I didn't know what that was at first. I was like, oh, were those something he was going to drug him with or something? Or,
yeah,
I didn't really know what the relevance of these blue pills were. But he spills a bunch of blue pills on the floor. And I think his girlfriend saves the day in some way. She pops out to like help him.
Yeah.
Does she like knock him out? I forgot. Oh, yeah, she knocks him out from behind, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we get the opening, which is
a pop punk version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Yes, in English.
Yes.
But I think done by a Korean band.
I think so too, yeah.
And I thought, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me of, remember, did you ever see Marie Antoinette?
Oh, no, I never did. Is that the one with Kirsten Dunst?
Yes.
No, I never saw that.
It has a very similar vibe opening. It's like newspaper page, clipped letters and punk rock kind of, you know what I mean?
Was that movie any good, or was it kind of like universally panned?
It's funny because I think at the time it was universally panned and had a lot of criticism, but I think it's one of those movies that people say on rewatch is like a actually great movie. But I'd have to look into that.
Well, so they get Menchik back to the, underground bunker in their, factory or whatever. And they do the kind of same things of like shaving off his hair so he can't, communicate with the mothership. And they cut him out of his clothes. And we see a notebook that says Case 13. So again, we're kind of meant to believe this is not the first person that he has done this to, and says he's perfect, unlike the others.
Yeah, we instantly get that sort of like, this is not the first. And they also sort of live in a mannequin factory.
Yes.
By the way, so like even though the whole time you're looking around them you see these like plastic body parts hanging up, they're plastic, but it's very like Saw
eerie
vibes.
Yes. Of course, they do the antihistamines to disrupt the nervous system, but this time there are 3 specific weak points: the eyes, the feet, and the genitals.
Yes.
And to help the antihistamines absorb, they have to remove some skin first. So they start sandpapering his feet, which was gross.
Very gross. And then they start like they have the antihistamine they get is like, instead of a spray, it's like one of those rub-on gel things, and they just like keep smacking him with it. I'm like, oh my god, it was killing me.
Yeah.
And he's screaming in pain the whole time. The torture scenes in this are way more intense.
Yeah, it's much more on camera, and it's much more like deliberate. Like, whereas I feel like, the other one, like they strapped her to a table and like turned up a dial. But this one, when he's torturing him later with like electrodes, he is like holding the electrodes and like grinning down at him maniacally as he electrocutes him.
Yeah. And in Bugonia, the times he uses like actual physical and psychological torture and physical torture he inflicts upon her, when it gets very intense, you feel this sort of like, oh, he's crossing the line, getting close to crossing the line. Is he enjoying this? You know what I mean? But in this one, you pretty much see from the jump that he enjoys every moment of it. And like when he has a emotional reaction, instead of going in the car and screaming, he goes down and tortures him.
Yeah.
So it's much more. I will say, I was like, oh, I don't think this is going to end like Bugonia did. I think this guy's going to be more like a criminal, you know?
Yeah.
Because we also find out now that he's a beekeeper as well.
Mm-hmm.
He has a bunch, but way more. He has a ton of beekeeping, like those little house things. I forgot, apiaries.
Yeah, that's the word for like
the beekeeper,
preservation of bees, but I don't know what the things are called.
Those little cute houses that the honey things or honeycombs are in, but he's got a bunch of those hotels outside. What'd you say?
I said bee hotels.
Bee hotels, exactly. Bee hotels, how cute. And they also live on a mountain in this one. Very secluded. Yes. Beautiful, by the way.
Yeah.
And he also is the man they kidnapped, in addition to being like important in business, this was a little hard to understand, but I think he's the son-in-law of the police chief.
Yeah, so this movie had a sort of subplot that Bugonia did not have, of like police officers investigating the case. Like in Bugonia, that all happened off screen.
Yeah, we only had the weird cop in Bugonia.
Yeah, in Save the Green Planet, we see like two detectives, like kind of like the grizzled old veteran and like the young upstart, trying to solve this case, and somehow Manshik is like blood relation to like the chief of police or something like that.
Yeah, he's married to the chief's daughter.
Yeah.
So it seems like we have this sort of side plot, and I'll tell you that young cop was hot.
He was hot, although I don't think this was needed. I don't think it added anything to the movie.
I think it is just a style of film that like I've seen that type of thing in movies before, you know?
Yeah.
The sort of like the aged mentor who doesn't follow the rules, and then the young one trying to like follow the rules has to, you know, go rogue. You know what I mean? It's that, you know, something.
Yeah.
I get it.
I just didn't care. I was like, I don't need this.
Yeah, I liked the intensity that having someone else like on the case brought to it.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, I liked that element because it made it more intense. Like he might get caught, a lot of times, but I don't think it needed the side plot of like son of the chief of police and who's involved and who's not. Because I think we could skip most of the politics of that, because the long and short of it is like, oh, the main police chief wants to take the credit for it while this other guy is kind of like a fish cook now or something, and it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
you know, the point is that on the case are this sort of like off on his own, chewing on a piece of wheat, former cop, and then this young wants to be a detective cop.
Yeah.
Can we call him that? Young cop, old cop?
Absolutely, yes. And then they do talk about like prescription medication. So again, there's like that allusion to that being kind of a problem.
Oh, I will say Intens.
Yes, Intens was the name of the drug.
Which it's like, I think it's like high power crystal meth, I'm assuming.
That's kind of the vibe I got, yeah.
Okay.
And I think that it was like the way that Bugonia kind of connected to like the bee colony and sort of like the devastation of the community was less evident in this movie. This movie felt much more like individual impact of drug use than impact to a community kind of thing.
Yes, and just, and a different way of approaching some of the other topics towards the end.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I agree with you 100%. The bees in this movie are mainly serve a different function.
Yeah. So then we get a scene of Byung-gu leaping out of a broken glass window and like beating somebody up in the street, straight up like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or there were some elements that felt very Mighty Morphin Power Rangers to this fight.
Very, very like old Bruce Lee movies.
Yes. And I was like, what is happening here? And then we kind of see that it's a like a hallucination or a fantasy of Byung-gu's, who is kind of like talking to a man buying more antihistamine products from him and kind of getting bullied by him.
Yeah, it looks like he made this guy buy it for him.
Yeah.
Which we'll find out why later, I think. But he makes him buy all this antihistamine cream, and he's like, why are you buying all this stuff anyway?
Yeah.
You got a problem with your bees? and he's just a total bully, and he's a jerk.
Yeah.
And you immediately don't like him. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if he's like that cop guy. You know, he's just like kind of a random jerk that will be popping into at the wrong time, you know?
Yeah.
That's what my guess was. But
so then we cut back to Suni.
Suni alone with him, right?
Yeah, she's like playing with dolls and putting little butterfly clips in her hair, and
she's my energy. That's what I want to be doing right now.
And he is kind of like trying to convince her to like let him go or whatever, but Byung-gu comes back and, you know, is like, I know what you did to my mother. I know everything, including your real name. And again, I think something we lose a little bit in translation is how much Menshik is like trying to pretend / convince that he is just some normal CEO guy. Like the way he speaks is very like you know, in Bugonia, Emma Stone is so like inhuman in her speech, and in this one it just comes across much more as like a regular person who's like, excuse me, you've kidnapped me and I'm not an alien, get me out of here.
Emma Stone is negotiating with him,
yes.
Whereas this guy is just screaming at him each time. He has no interest in the alien storyline whatsoever. He never addresses it. He hears it the first time, looks like you're crazy, and then essentially every time he comes down, he's just like telling him like, you're not going to get away with this, you're a piece of shit. And like provoking him and getting tortured for it. And it feels like, way more just like a human. He's not even interested in the alien thing at all.
No.
And every time Byung-gu goes downstairs to him and talks to him, he screams at him like unprovoked at some point. Like even in this point where he's like, I know what you did to my mom, I know your real name, and he just randomly screams, I know it all.
Yeah. He's much more frenetic in this movie than Jesse Plemons' character was.
Which the whole time I was like, there's something different about this movie, you know? Plus the cop angle also brought that into it too. It felt way more true crime, which I think we kind of mentioned a little bit how it could feel a little true crimey in the other one, you know?
Yeah, it does. You're right. It does kind of feel like it could end as like a slasher film kind of vibe.
Yeah, and then this is when he really wants him to get the prince here, the galactic prince or whatever, and he obviously says, I don't know what you're talking about. And we get the sort of electricity scene here.
Yeah, much more, as I said, like direct. Suni is like trying to discourage him, but he, you know, is kind of like, eventually you all confess, blah, blah, blah.
Because pain is something you never get used to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he says, after he's done being electrocuted, like, which is way more intense, like we said, in this one, he goes, you know, I'll give you money. Like, are you doing this for money? And he's like, you think I'm doing this for money? And then he, you know, zaps him again. Yeah. And then we get the cops doing one of your favorite things.
They zoom and enhance.
Yes, they zoom and enhance because they get some video from a ATM of a gentleman dressed in like a bucket hat and sunglasses on a motorbike, getting 4,000 from the ATM of this guy's account, and then riding off on a motorbike, and they zoom and enhance on the license plate.
Amazing, because it was straight up just like a white blob of pixels, and they were like, enhance, and then they managed to get the letters of the license plate, and I was like, oh my god.
Yes, and the way they did it too was like so typical of what we see in like CSI and things, which I was like, I'm so glad it's not just us with this trope.
Yes,
because they were like about to leave the room, but then the young cop is like, wait, hold on, darken it, and then everything becomes clearer, and you're just thinking in your head, if it became clearer by darkening it, why didn't they just start there?
Honestly.
Anyway, but yeah, so now he thinks he's got this this lead, which he brings back to the guy who's the old cop. Who for some reason is slicing fish, and I don't really ever know why or care. And he says, you know, oh, I brought you this information, and here's the guy. I think we found the guy who kidnapped the CEO or whatever. But he's like, come on, be smart. Like, you think he's just going to show up on ATM doing a fashion show? Come on.
Yeah, and he gives him this, like, folder of missing persons cases and says basically he thinks they're all connected. So young cop starts kind of, like, going down that angle a little bit.
Exactly. When we cut back to the main storyline, we find out that, or I don't know if we just find this out now or not, but I thought it was a cute detail. Byung-gu's dog's name is Earth.
Yes, and he's feeding him, and he mentions something about like alien flesh or whatever, but it's just kind of like a quick little like throwaway mention.
Yeah.
Suni is ironing Doll's clothes,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a moment where Manshik spits out a tooth at Byung-gu, and he like puts it in his jar of teeth collection, which is unsettling.
Unsettling and weird. And I was like, is that just from the electrocution? Or I don't really know why. He just randomly spit out a tooth, but there's your tooth.
Yeah. And he says to Byung-gu that you're the one who threw eggs at me. Is this about your mother? I paid you plenty. And then he says like, or is this about your girlfriend? I didn't kill her. And we see kind of not a flashback, but like a hallucination of Byung-gu's of like a woman covered in blood, like reaching out for him.
Mm-hmm. For him, it feels like it's happening in the room. Like it looks surrealistic, like it's happening in the room. But we, as a viewer, know like he's just re-experiencing some sort of flashback there.
Which he responds to by popping a bunch of the meth pills and then electrocuting Manshik some more.
Yes, exactly.
Yikes.
And he's manic. Every time he's confronted with something, he reacts this way. Takes some sort of pills, swipes at anyone around him, and then tortures this guy.
Yeah.
And this time I think he actually tortures him with irons, because later on we see him with like iron marks on his chest.
Yes.
Yikes.
Then we get a scene where Besame Mucho is playing on the music on the overhead speakers.
Oh, I love that song.
I do too. And then Suni is like dancing on a tightrope. So apparently she is like a tightrope artist, which was just kind of, again, absurdist in its tone for this movie.
Yeah, she has like basically like a tight wire. It's like a slack line essentially set up, but she's doing tight wire work on it, dressed up with a fan.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Besame Mucho playing to, I think, distract her from what's going on. And she's a lovesick kind of person. She's all about the love, you know?
Yeah.
Also, we get a little flashback before this of his childhood, Jungkook's childhood with his mom, similar to like the flashbacks we saw. They're like a little bit surreal, and in this one, it's like a mix between him playing with little tiny umbrellas and then his mom telling him like, you have to endure and save the earth, and she's like attached to an IV holding him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
After the tight wire act, she's interrupted by I keep forgetting his name, Manshik, who says he has to pee.
And he pees for a solid 5 minutes.
Yikes.
I've had pees that feel like that before, but that's pretty intense.
Yes, I was gonna say I've definitely felt like that before. And at this point we realize he's basically strapped to a toilet.
Yes, and he again is trying to like convince her that he's not an alien, and she's like, he's saying like, Byung-gu's crazy, like I can help you, essentially kind of the same thing of like, I can get you out of this, blah blah blah. And she kind of gets overwhelmed and is like combing the hair on her doll and gets so sort of aggressive with it that she like accidentally rips the doll's head off.
Yeah.
Because he's telling her at this point, like, he doesn't love you. Like there was someone else. This is all about the revenge over his dead lover. And he can't even say he loves you to you because he doesn't, and blah, blah, blah.
And then it's very sad, and she runs outside to confront him, and she says to him, do you love me? And he can't say it.
Yeah.
And she leaves.
Yeah, so she kind of goes away and takes a bus, and it's sad, and then Byung-gu gives a drink to Manshik, and I was like, oh, is this going to be like some kind of poison thing? But they just are sort of drinking together, and Byung-gu yells at him and says that he thinks that he basically used his telepathy to convince Suni she had to leave or whatever.
Yeah. And then eventually he's like, it doesn't matter though. It's better that she left because she was too fragile for what's to come. And we see like cutscenes of her leaving and him like spraying antihistamine in his eyes, and then we see a scene of him slapping himself while he's staring at Suni's doll, and the CCTV shows his prisoner.
Yeah. And so now it's 3 days before the solar eclipse and
lunar eclipse.
Thank you.
Eclipse. Very important.
So the young cop has kind of like managed to connect something about the drug usage to Byung-gu's mom in the hospital where she's kind of in her like coma state or whatever. So he's sort of like narrowing in on Byung-gu a bit.
And we find out that all this medicine has gone missing from the hospital around the same time as he would have been there, and she was admitted.
Yes. Yeah. And then we see Menshik kind of break out of his restraints a little bit, and he like bites his finger out of its socket, I think, so he can like slip the cuff off of his wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And Byung-gu doesn't see any of this, but he comes down to the basement to torture him again. And this time he's got a new torture device, which he pours a ton of lubricant onto, and it looks like this dildo that he says,
my God,
this will reach your intestine. No one can stand it for more than an hour.
Oh,
and
my God.
This was horrifying, of course. And then, like, the dildo also seems to, like, shoot out jets of, like, steam.
Yes. Yes.
Do not like.
Look, it's huge. It's terrible. I was like, no. And he's like, can you see where this is headed? And the anticipation is really building because he's just lubing it up while he's talking to him. But he's like unafraid. He's like, you'll never beat me. You need those pills to come near me. You're a coward.
Yes.
Like provoking him. And I'm like, do you see what he's got in his hand? I don't care if you're an alien or not.
Yeah. But he does, since he kind of like slipped out of his restraints, he manages to like get out of the chair, and he and Byung-gu fight. And he describes Byung-gu as kind of like the line of like, you're a loser, I'm a winner, and that's how it'll always be. He has a line where when he's like choking Byung-gu, he says, ungrateful creatures, how dare you challenge me? And so that was one of the moments where I was like, oh, maybe that's kind of like a hint that he is an alien in this one.
Yes, exactly. Because that could be alien. It could also just be like, I think I'm so much better than you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but they fight back and forth. I think what changes it is that a screw is on the floor, like a loose random screw from him getting out. And I think, is it Byung-gu that gets it first and stabs him?
I think so, yeah. He like stabs him in the foot or the hand or something.
Yeah, so it's going back and forth. It's very frustrating because I'm like, oh my God, I don't really know who to root for at this point. But I mean, I don't really know who to root for in the first one too either, I guess. But it just seems really intense. They're fighting back and forth. He crawls away eventually and locks himself out into another room, which is sort of like a hallway room between the basement they're in and like the outside. It looks like a hatch to go. You see like light in a slit, but he doesn't have the key to that, so he's stuck in there now, locked in there. And then he thinks that his captor is locked in the other room because he has the keys, but he has a way out to go like through the stairway. And this is where I think we find out that there's like a secret middle room.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like when he thought he was breaking out, he ended up like in that kind of like vestibule where there's another locked door, and then he ends up locked between the two doors. So he's kind of like in a hallway almost.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, what is going to happen next? He's like thinking he's fine. And this was kind of funny. I guess not funny is the word. Byung-gu pulls out a gun and is like pointing it at him. And then I guess he distracts him to get him to come close enough where he is able to get the gun from him.
Yeah.
And he points it at him and goes to shoot him, but it's like pellets.
Yeah, it's like little bouncy balls or something.
Yeah, there's like literally nothing happening. It was like totally nothing. And then in him doing this, he gets distracted and turns around and then gets a needle in the neck.
Yes.
Passes out, and now he's on camera in this room. So,
and this is exactly when Old Cop shows up at his door to start investigating. And
yes.
Manshik kind of gains consciousness and starts screaming, and Byung-gu uses like a piece of farm equipment to kind of like drown him out. And we kind of get this weird bonding scene between the Old Cop and Byung-gu where he talks about like how he played a prank on his old factory manager and they put glue on his penis and glued his penis to his belly, which I'm like, how would you have managed that? But
oh my God,
anyway.
right? Yeah. Yeah, they're like drinking together now because he was acting casual outside while he was like, by the way, this is the one part of the movie I need to understand how this makes sense, okay?
Okay.
Even in this world. While they're outside and Old Cop is talking to Byung-gu and Manshik is down in right beneath their feet. He's right beneath their feet. The like doorway hatch that is like the little sliver of light is right beneath their feet right now. To the point where his fingers are through the slit, and if either of them looked down, they would see the fingers.
Yes.
So in an effort to like distract this, Byung-gu steps on his fingers and like smashes them. Why wouldn't Manshik scream?
Great question.
Scream.
scream, anything.
Anything.
And
You're
it's
not like
the
before he couldn't talk because he was like out of it from the needle, but he's obviously in pain. He's like muffling his own scream. I don't understand. But anyway, that's the only part of the movie which really was like, that was your chance.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So he gets the cop drunk and he kind of like falls asleep at the house. And then like when he gains consciousness, he hears like weird noises and maybe like Manchik screaming or whatever. But he goes and explores the basement below the factory, and he stumbles upon Byung-gu, who is working on a transmitter, he says, to send messages to aliens. And it's like this weird piece of equipment. And I don't know if he's trying to kind of be kooky as a way to basically be like, there's nothing going on here, I'm just some weird guy in the mountains kind of thing.
I don't know. It almost felt like he was trying to like indoctrinate him.
Yeah,
a little bit. Like he's like, you have to read this book. Kind of like in Bugonia. Like, read this book, it changed my life.
Yeah.
Like he gives him a similar book, and it's like, aliens and stuff. I think later on we see what it is. It's got an alien on the cover.
Yeah.
I wrote down the name of the book later when he actually gives it to him for real, when he's like, okay, sends you off with it. But yeah, it almost seems like in the first book where he's like testing him out to see like, are you someone who could believe this with me? Or are you an enemy? Like, do I have to worry about you? Or can I just like let you go off in the world and hope that you do the work somewhere else?
Yeah.
It was weird.
Well, old cop does not believe in aliens. He says, aliens my ass, as he throws the book away when he's leaving the property. But then he notices Earth, the dog, who is chewing on a big bone that he's like, that looks like a human bone. And then he looks in the dog house and sees like a human skull. So now we know that Byung-gu has been feeding the remains of the humans and Andromedans, presumably, that he's been kidnapping to his dog.
Yikes. But unfortunately, he's discovering all of this on CCTV.
Yes.
And instead of like doing something smart, I think, personally, and like getting the hell out of there,
yeah,
he just wanders around looking for service on the mountain. Wanders off by the bees.
Yeah, he's on the phone with young cop trying to tell him that it's Byung-gu. He knows where Manchik is, and then Byung-gu basically confronts him and throws his phone off the mountain, and then they have this like battle where he sprays him with bee food and then like knocks over all the bee hotels, and all the bees attack old cop, and he basically it's pretty grotesque. They like crawl inside his mouth and stuff, and he like falls down the mountain, and you see like bees feeding on his corpse basically.
Yeah, it was pretty horror movie-esque. This whole scene was like a Alfred Hitchcocky.
Yes.
Like him confronting him there, because now Byung-gu's manner has gone from like, I'm trying to win you over, to like, I'm emotionless. And I'm about to kill you with these bees, bitch.
I'm pretty sure it's implied that he chops up his body and feeds it to his dog as well.
Oh, I mean, that seems to be his MO, so. Yeah. And then, meanwhile, they're still chasing, the other cops are chasing down the license plate to see what's going on. And then we cut back to the torture scene because he's not gotten away. And now, instead, he's basically like half crucified. He's got his palms nailed to like a half cross.
That's kind of, what it looks like. Yeah.
Manchik, that is, obviously. Oof, that was rough.
And then adding to that, Byung-gu is threatening to chop his leg off with an axe, saying like, this way you won't get away. And I thought he was going to do it.
Like, his leg is there. It's tied up ready. He's got an axe, and we've seen horrific things on this movie. So it feels very much real. And like, he's about to swing it, and he's like, wait, I can save your mom. There's a way. He's like, how? And he says, I'm an alien, and your mom's in a coma, but something is happening within her. And he's like, yeah, I know. Basically, her genetic code is rearranging. Same sort of thing as Bugonia. There's a 5-year length experiment. If it succeeds, she'll awaken. If not, she'll die, but we can chemically end it. But in this one, he doesn't even have to give him like an explanation of like, this is fake, this is whatever in my car. He says, I have something that's in a bottle that says benzene in my car, and that's the antidote.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when he sees it, literally has the skull and crossbones on it, and he doesn't even think twice about it.
No.
But he hits him with the blunt end of the axe and then leaves with the benzene.
Yeah. And then he goes to the hospital to kind of do the same, saving his mother thing, while Manchik like pulls the nails through his hands to escape the crucifixion and attempts to escape.
That was grotesque.
Yeah, I didn't love that.
I didn't love that
And
either.
then-
I winced. I half watched that part because I was like, he might be saying he's not in pain because of the anesthesia, but I'm in pain watching it.
Yes.
um,
So kind of like the, scene in Bugonia, he comes across the torture room and sees all the photos and all the diary entries and footage and whatever.
in this one, it's way more like, it's way less scientific looking and way more ramblings of a mind elsewhere looking.
Yeah, like red string on a map kind of thing.
Yes, it's dirty. There's not a lot of like data. It's a lot of like trophy body parts and like lots of like more hurt. Even the photos look more tortury,
Yeah.
And there's like a journal that then he finds the journal.
Yeah, which is like the history of Byung-goo's life, and he learns his dad died in a mine accident and his mom became addicted to drugs, and we see like these flashbacks of him like being beaten in school and going to a juvenile detention center and
Getting involved in a gang.
And we see his girlfriend Natsuni get like killed during a protest, and
He hid nearby while it happened.
yes,
Like a
we also see, in the hospital scene where he murders his mother with the benzene. And while that's happening, the police go, not old cop or new cop, but kind of like the whatever cops go and arrest the bully guy who it seems like Byung-gu kind of like framed for all of
Yes.
this.
He had him dressed up like how he's dressed in all of the photographs with the bucket hat and the sunglasses. And he was the one who bought the spray. He was the one who did the ATM. So he is framed, and the old cop was right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, also, we have a very dramatic scene with like music where Manshik destroys the room with all the evidence of the body parts and breaks everything. And it's unclear whether he's like horrified by what he saw or whether he is like horrified that like, this guy's figured out all the alien stuff,
Yeah. We also see a scene where Suni is like performing in a circus, but falls from the tightrope and is sort of like, I have to go save him, and like runs off to save Byung-gu.
Yeah, she falls off the tightrope, and I was like, oh no. And it's kind of happening at the same time as like he's in danger. So I thought it was just showing their connection, and I was worried she was going to like die here. But no, she just is like connected to him. So she runs to him even though he's a maniac to her.
So young cop gets to the factory and finds Manshik and is like maybe about to save him when Byung-gu shows up, and the cop has to like shoot him in the leg to like stop him from attacking him. But Suni like cartwheels in and beats up the cop, and we kind of see Byung-gu like dissociate again. Like there's some weird fingers from the edges of the screen kind of wiggling at him.
And then he sees that spirity image of his mother, right?
Yeah, and she's giving him the pills. It's very strange. It's kind of just surreal.
I guess it's kind of like what he's experiencing when he is getting high.
Yeah.
Like how he envisions it. Like it's almost like a connection to his mother.
Yeah. And then kind of similar to Bugonia, Manshik asks like how many of them were Andromedans, and we find out again it was just 2 of them.
Yeah. And now he's got both Manshik and the hot cop tied up.
Yes. And Manshik tells the story of the fucked up humans and their, genetic flaw. And I will say, it wouldn't have worked in Bugonia, but I do think I did enjoy the kind of montage of footage of human atrocity that they overlay as he's talking about this story, because I feel like Emma Stone just tells the story.
Yes.
In this one, they show like footage of like the Holocaust and like all of these awful things that humans have done throughout history.
Yeah.
And I think that was an effective way to show the flaw of humanity.
Yeah, I agree. I think both. First, they do that sort of like montage of like the history of the human race and how the many different iterations of like how they killed the dinosaurs on accident, how they made a first version of human beings, which lived in Atlantis, which I thought was kind of cute. And then I loved the way they did that sort of montage. I like the stylistic, artistic way they did that. And then had us starting from the apes and all of that. But yeah, then to do all of that, which felt like not silly, but like lighthearted in a way, that montage, and then to cut to the the real life atrocities and see the real footage of actual human beings being treated just like bodies, you know?
Yeah.
That was really impactful. It was impactful, and it went on for a while, you know?
It did, yeah.
As they talked about it. And it wouldn't have worked in Bugonia, but I felt like this is the difference. Bugonia had a message about how we're destroying the planet underneath it, and this is more about like how we're destroying each other.
Yeah. So kind of like the original, or the kind of like Bugonia, he tells him like, we can contact the Andromedans from my factory.
Yes. And I can bring you with me, and you know, you can talk to them, and you know.
Yeah.
I like this part where he's like, he wants to, he's bought into it. He's like, okay, he is the Andromedan leader, like I thought, but he's kind of like not totally there, because he looks around his room and he sees like, oh, he could have just read all this, you know, and made this up.
Exactly.
So he's like, oh, really? Well, how are you 1 million years old then?
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 150. And he gives some sort of like mathematical equation about like how time works, like here. But he gives it like right off easy. And he's like, didn't you know that? Simple math. And then you do this little montage of him doing the math in his head. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I love that little moment.
So they get to the factory, and it seems like they're about to like communicate with the Andromedans, but Manshik kind of betrays him and uses this like big robotic arm to like kill Suni.
Oh, right. The code thing. In this one, instead of the code ending and it like you know, triggering the bomb, it triggers this like machine thing to grab Suni by the neck.
Yeah. Which kills her, and Byung-gu and he fight, and he manages to shoot Byung-gu. Oh no, I'm sorry. He's fighting him off, and then the police arrive and they shoot Byung-gu. And as he's kind of dying, he's thinking like, well, now who's going to save the Earth? And you're still kind of like, I don't even know if there really is an alien in this movie. Maybe this was all just in his head.
Yeah, because there's like, and then at this point in the movie, like the Suni is dead. He's dead. It seems like he's dead. Yeah, he's dead. There's 5 minutes left in the movie. It felt like I looked ahead and I was like, oh, there's not much time. That's it.
Yeah.
And he goes into the street like screaming. He goes into the street and gets to the ambulance, and it looks like the movie's gonna end.
Yes, but just as he's about to be taken into the car by the police who rescued him, they all get shot with like laser beams
from space.
And Manshik gets teleported up to the spaceship and
runs outside screaming in the alien language.
Turns out he is an Andromedan, and
when he gets in the ship, it kind of looked it looked a little bit similar to they did in Bugonia. I feel like they definitely took elements of it.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say is in Bugonia, like it seems like Emma Stone is very sad about having to, you know, because they have the same conversation about like the human race has failed, blah blah blah. It seems like Emma Stone is really sad about that, and in this one it's very like, well, we're done here, and they literally blow up the planet.
Yeah, and in this one he's like, before he left the planet, he told them that there were only 2 other specimens, like 2 other experiments left or something like that. There were other experiments.
Yes.
We'll find out that there are over 4,500 experiments left.
Yes.
At this point, that could still like, you know, be whatever, but they're like, nope, it's hopeless. Boom.
Yes.
Earth explodes. And then the movie ends with like, from Earth's explosion, like a TV has, you know, existed in outer space. And as the credits roll on the right, we see kind of, I don't know if you watched it, but it was kind of emotional. It was like his life.
His childhood. Yeah. Yeah. I only have 2 pieces of trivia for this. Are you ready for them?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, well, first of all, the director, Jang Joon-hwan, was supposed to direct Bugonia, but ended up needing to kind of like pull out for health reasons. And so that's when Yorgos Lanthimos stepped in. But he said that he loved Bugonia and described it as a magnificent variant with altered DNA, almost as if reborn by aliens. And praised Emma Stone, saying it vividly brought to life the effect he had envisioned. So he was very complimentary of Bugonia.
Oh, great. I love that.
And then the director first came up with the idea for this movie after watching Misery with Kathy Bates. He loved Misery, but he felt like Kathy Bates' character didn't have enough depth. And so he was like, it'd be fun to kind of do something getting more into the point of view of the like deranged kidnapper.
Mm-hmm.
And then he later came across a website saying that Leonardo DiCaprio was an alien who wanted to conquer Earth by seducing all of its women. And
Okay.
so he was like, that combined with Misery was what gave him the idea to come up with Save the Green Planet.
I mean, that kind of gives credence to me saying last week, this is exactly the type of dialogue I see people talk about in this world.
Yeah, the
And
lizard
B,
people.
I think you could see all of that true crime sort of element to it. That sort of like, I am in the mind of that person who has this person captive.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
So I think it was effective.
Yeah.
Do you want the ratings?
Yes.
All right. IMDb gives it a 7.1.
Okay.
And on Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 89%, with the audience popcorn meter at 87%.
That's crazy to me that it has higher ratings. I mean, IMDb is a little lower, but it has higher Rotten Tomato ratings on both factors than Bugonia.
Mm-hmm. It's also been out for
so
longer and has more time. It's also a foreign film, so I don't know how that all factors in as well.
It also, I think, has kind of developed a little bit of a cult following.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't love this as much as Bugonia. Just stylistically, I like the style and vibe of Bugonia more.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know how much was lost in, like, literally lost in translation of kind of the vibe of, is he really, like, I felt like Bugonia had, like, I switched perspectives so many times during Bugonia of like, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist. Oh my God, she actually is an alien. Oh my God, he's just a conspiracy theorist. And this one felt like I was waiting till the end to kind of like guess.
Yeah.
Because it really just felt like a kidnapping movie for 90% of it.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm going to say I liked it. I didn't like it as much as Bugonia. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay. I'm going to give it an 8.
Oh, all right.
A solid 8. I really liked it. I don't have a lot of complaints about it. I think the police storyline was unnecessary and a little confusing all the way through.
Yeah.
So that docked some points for me. And I think they could have done a little bit better with like his storyline with his mother. They gave his whole life story really well, which I thought was effective. But like his connection with his mom and the pills, I felt like that was sort of like not quite all the way clear.
I agree. Yeah.
But other than that, I really liked it, and I liked the takes. The only thing I mentioned last week, I knew one thing ahead of time, and the only thing I knew was that it was gender swapped for Begonia, with Emma Stone being female. That was the only thing I had known about this one, but I thought it worked really well, and I can't say much else. So 8.0, I would say. For me, it's a beauty.
Yeah, I'm still going to call it a beauty because I think it's wildly inventive.
Yeah. And then thinking backwards, we usually do this the other way. Thinking about Bugonia being the reboot of this, obviously you give that one a higher rating. So you think that one improved upon this?
I do. I think this was like a really interesting idea. And I think that, again, and maybe if I spoke Korean, I would feel differently. I think that Bugonia like took it to the next step, in my opinion. And also just like, again, stylistically, I really liked the style of Bugonia too. Yeah,
I agree. Like I don't even know what protest or at all would have been shown when we see his girlfriend die, for example, which I'm sure if I was Korean or spoke Korean, that would have been immediately relevant to me just from the imagery. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm sure impact in many ways was lost too. So, but yeah, I loved it.
Well, this was a fun little alien adventure ride.
It was. We don't have the exact format for exactly what we're doing next, but we can tell you what the world we're joining is.
Yes.
And it is Super Mario World or Mario World if you're not me.
Oh my God. The minute you said that just now, I was like, I'm going to have to listen to 6 weeks of you saying Mario.
That's right. That's right, listeners. We're definitely doing the Super Mario Brothers movies. We'll for sure do, I think I'm going to be able to find the first 3. The first one we'll have to find on DVD.
Oh, wink, wink.
Yes, because it's not anywhere. But I think if we could find those animated ones from before, we'll try to do those too. So get ready to join Super Mario World next week.
Yeah. Well, I think I found up to 6 pieces of media we could review for a little Super Mario series. But if we end up with fewer, then don't be mad.
Yeah. The plan is 6. That's the magic number. 6 levels, if you will. And in the meantime, while you're waiting for that, if you want to help us grow, the best thing that you could do is to rate and review this podcast on whatever you're listening to us on right now.
That's right. Also, most people try a podcast because a friend recommends it to them. So if you're listening to this and enjoying our show, please tell a friend.
And we love interacting with you on social media. You can find us on Instagram, rebootypod. You can email us, rebootypod@gmail.com. We love hearing feedback, recommendations for future episodes, so say hi.
We also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/nandmatt. You get cool bonus episodes where we review movies mostly and sometimes play games, so check that out.
And thanks for listening to Rebooty and the Beast.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.